right, this is interesting, Terry. So let's see if we understand exactly what's happening here. The defense, if I'm understanding it, says that this is unconstitutional, right? That the law enforcement did not have the grounds to put these secret cameras into this spot. What's their argument exactly?
There really are two arguments for defending. One, that the right to privacy was violated, and two, that the constitutional right was violated under the Fourth Amendment, that everyone has the expectation for a reasonable search and seizure, and there has to be a warrant for that. So what Kraft is basically saying, or his attorneys, is that when he went to the spa and he was getting a regular massage, he had every reason to think it would be private and every reason to think that there wouldn't be cameras to search the premises. So the prosecution is basically saying, no, we have a right to go in there. We have a right. This is not your home. You are not protected here. And we think that there is a crime occurring, and we have a right to search the premises and to have a camera.
Well, let me ask you this. This is the interesting part about this, is that if I'm understanding it correctly, that they're also looking at the language by which they got the warrant to get those cameras in there, and they're making analogies that don't quite make sense. And they're saying, look, if you look at the law related to wiretaps, this isn't one of those serious crimes. Didn't they have to fake a bomb threat to get those cameras in there?
That's what the report stated, that they had to say something bigger than what they were already searching for, which is the illegal activity, the prostitution, and the human trafficking. But the judge could have decided that there was enough evidence there to give them this warrant to go in and put the cameras in to see what activities were actually going on.
Yeah, and is that lawful?
Well, that's what's up for debate. I think that...
Have you ever seen it?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I think that any individual who is in this type of setting would have some expectation of privacy. If you just think about it, are in a normal massage, or if you're in a gym and you're changing your clothes, you don't expect that there will be a camera there. And so I think the argument is good that Kraft has.
Well, it'd be interesting if we never got to see this video, although if it's released, how many people would actually watch it? Everybody. What am I thinking? As we watch this, let's just think about what happened earlier this week. Terry, the judge made a decision, right, that this video wouldn't be made public until a jury is ultimately sworn in a trial, if this gets to a trial. What did you make of that? Because the first time we heard about the Kraft case was whether or not the public had a right to see it, the media had a right to see it. Do you think we have a right to see it?
I think we have a right to see it, but I think the judge should rule that the jury can see it, and the jury can determine whether or not it has value and whether or not it, shows if Kraft actually committed this crime. But the judge could, and he has the discretion to just let the jury see it and not have the public see it, and he could seal it for all intents and purposes.
I mean, look, if this video really does show what it shows, why do you think, and the evidence is so strong against Robert Kraft, why do you think he pled not guilty? Is it all because he wants to keep his team?
I think he wants to keep his contract, he wants to keep his team, he wants to keep his legacy, and pleading guilty is going to refute all of that. So I think he wants his cake and to eat it too. If he could get completely off, I think he's going to try to do that.
That's his only option, right? Because, well, let's think. If this went to trial,
right,
and he gets convicted, what's the punishment?
Well, it's going to be worse than if he had taken the plea. He'll have to go to jail. And
do you think he would go to jail for this?
I think he could if he was found guilty. Absolutely. They could look at the federal sentencing guidelines and determine, because he didn't take the plea, because it took so much time to get him convicted, that they are going to throw the book at him and use him as an example. This is why people take the pleas.
Right.
So they don't have to serve the jail time.
What was his plea?
He pleaded not guilty.
No, I mean, but what would his plea deal would have been if he did?
He would have to do community service, and he would have had to plead guilty that he would have been convicted at trial, and he didn't want to do that.
And he would have lost his team.
Exactly.
The morals clause, and obviously we know how that works.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so trying to see what the defense is going to be able to do, because without that video, Terry, prosecution would they still have a slam dunk case against him?
They're not going to have much against him. I think they're going to have to show that he was there and that he paid. They could take receipts to show that he paid something, or they could find DNA evidence in the spa.
Right.
That's possible as well.
Yes, we're smiling at that because you and I had a discussion about possible evidence they may have, and I don't even want to go there. But the point is, yeah, if they have them coming into the place and leaving the place, and they have receipts, that might be interesting. But what's interesting? What I thought was different. He apologized. If he's pleading not guilty, what's he apologizing for?
It's a great question. His PR team probably said you need to issue an apology because something bad happened. So you need to say you're sorry. One thing I noticed, his apology didn't say, I'm sorry for going to the massage parlor and getting services. It just said, I'm sorry, I embarrassed my family, and I put you all in this situation. So I think he's trying to redeem his character, but at the same time not admit guilt. And I think the lawyers and the PR team probably crafted the apology together to make sure it said enough, but not too much.
They crafted Robert Kraft's letter. Sorry, everybody had to. Well, I'll tell you one thing, this case is definitely shedding light on how sneak and peek warrants work, putting these cameras in or getting this footage to capture illegal activity. I mean, how specific do warrants have to be? You hear them saying, well, how did you know that room something illegal was going to be? How specific does it have to be?
It has to be pretty specific, and it's interesting that he's testifying he knew that there would be or there could be criminal activity in room 1, 2, 3, or 4, but it's a good point. How do you know that? There could be a regular massage in room 2, and rooms 1, 3, and 4 may have, prostitution going on.
We think that the defense is going to call multiple witnesses to talk about this. Who ultimately decides this? The judge about whether or not this tape will be allowed in, whether or not the prosecution's key evidence will get in?
Yes, it's going to be the judge versus the jury. The judge is going to make that determination to see whether or not the jury can even view the tape. And if the judge says no, then no one gets to see it. I think the judge is going to say you can see the tape. But as I mentioned before, I think there's no reason the public has to necessarily see it except for the public interest. This is a public figure. They're going to want to see the tape.
And it'll probably get leaked one way or another. But again, if that tape does get released, it also becomes a question about what does the tape really show? How grainy is the footage, right? The defense would still have an argument there.
That's right. In fact, a lot of these tapes are grainy. If you remember the R. Kelly case long ago when he was acquitted for that case, it was very grainy and the individual did not come in to testify, so he was able to get off. Here, I think if it's grainy and it's the back of his head, it would be pretty hard to say definitively.
I was looking at some hidden camera footage from 2015 inside of a spot, and based upon what I'm seeing, I don't know, it seems you could probably make out who somebody is, but every tape is different. Well, the defense is forcing the police department, investigators, to answer a lot of questions. And Terry, that's not the only thing. Wasn't a class action lawsuit filed on behalf of somebody who went to the spot but was not even charged with a crime, saying, you're illegally videotaping customers? What do you make of that one?
Exactly. An unidentified John Doe was the class that was identified, and I think it's a good case. I think they have a very good chance of saying my privacy was breached, and I went there to get a massage, and I was not involved in any criminal activity. Why was there surveillance? And you didn't have our permission, we weren't warned, and if a number of people in this class make this claim, I think they have a very good chance of prevailing.
I wonder how many people are going to spas, no matter what they do at spas, and wondering, hey, do you guys have surveillance footage in these rooms? I'm sure a lot of people have been asking. But one of the other big developments that happened this week is that Shen Mingbi, she's 58 years old, she is one of the women accused of having sex with Robert Kraft, of engaging in these, not having sex, but engaging in sex acts with Robert Kraft at this location, this spa. What could we expect if she were to testify in a Robert Kraft trial?
Well, you raise a very good point. Sometimes prostitution is pursued in terms of convictions because there are victims in the crime, and there might be young women involved or young boys involved, or there might be sex trafficking. Here, there's a woman who is of the same age, and she could very well testify that it was consensual if there was something going on beyond just the massage. So,
if she said he never paid me.
Right.
I don't know. A lot to speculate here, a lot to think about here. But Terri Austin, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, everybody, I'm going to be signing off. Michael Bryant is going to be signing in, and he's going to guide you through the next chapter of our cases. We'll be back.